some of the things you was talking about just now in terms of our ability to travel, um, and return and so forth. How do you connect
Well,
that, and how do you?
I think we all do it. When we go to sleep, be it at night or day, daydreaming night, revelation, or I wonder if, daydreaming kind of states, we all do it. And the things that come in from the side and from behind, little random, like little, just like a breeze blowing through. I wonder if, oh no, it can't be like that, but it is like that. And just to be able to hold on to it, how do you hold on to a wisp of smoke? Do you inhale? And in this book, Dr. Bynum talked about breathing practices. Breathing through your right nostril and your left nostril. Well, I never heard such a thing. That's how little I know. And in dream state, I remember studying about that and reading some of the occult literature, that you could actually be in a different dimension, a different place, and then become conscious that you were still asleep. And you could have a dialogue, this active imagination can have a dialogue and talk to the realm and ask it to talk back to you. And then you could command your lower mind to hold on to the memory so that when you awoke, you could then. And the importance of writing things down as soon as you wake up. Some things you have to go and write down. They ain't gonna let you go. You'll be chewing on for days and weeks thereafter. But the fleeting thoughts, and also the importance about living according to the 42 affirmations, knowing that when you do wrong things, it throws your heart off, and you close down the door of communication. You carry this residue that begins to cloud and begin with a broad brush to paint lies and falsehood and the opposites of what things really might be. So that, and also the need to watch out for rage, because rage can really jumble the airwaves. And watch out for love. It can really clear it up. It can really clear it up. But to be courageous enough to love, that takes some doing. Easy to get angry and stay angry. Hard to let it go. Easy to do, hard to do the right thing sometimes. To pay the prices that are being asked of you. When the wife showed up that time, boy, I just started running off at the mouth. I'd blame her for this and blame her for that and said all this and said all that. And as time went on, I couldn't remember all the bad. The good, still just like it was yesterday. Wonder how as time went on, certain things stand tall, certain things just fade away. Not that I forgot, but it didn't matter as much with the passage of time. So I guess to ask the question of how do you hold on to it, I think, well, there are spiritual guides. You have to pray. I'm becoming a lot more spiritual in that respect. Pray that you'll be blessed with revelations, and also to be able to laugh at your foolish self, because things happen. So, oh man, you missed that. Oh yeah, you missed that. What's new on this? So, and do the best you can, and don't worry as much as you can. Try not to worry about
stress.
The stress. The stress. I watched my youngest son, who's a brilliant young man, and but there's sometimes he beats himself up so severely. And I just say, man, just take it easy, bro. Just take it easy. So that's the answer I want to share on that.
My brother, Dr. King.
Yes, sir.
Stemming from what this question was based on, I know that people are trained to get out of body.
Yeah.
What about not, when they decide to return and cannot get back into their body?
Oh, that's it. There's a concept called the golden thread that says that when you leave your body in an astral plane, or one of these names and forms, and many different names, there's a golden thread that connects and runs from your umbilical cord all the way back into your physical body from which you left. And if that cord is broken, then you cannot get back. I don't even know that, I know that when I was in my room and I realized how bad things were going for me with the renal failures, kidneys had stopped working, talking about put me on dialysis, and that the kidneys were filling up full of fluid, and I was coming and going. I don't look too good. I know that I knew I already had some out-of-the-body experiences more than once, and each time during the day, especially at night. And I was afraid that I would not wake up or come back to this realm. And so I had, as all of us do when you get in times like that, I prayed. God, if you just let me come on back. Please, please, please. I've been, as Sister Kevin, I prayed before, this is other calamities in my life. And then when I prayed, I didn't hear a word back right then. I said, did anyone hear? What? Anybody listening? I wonder if I can look at a book, I wonder what's going to happen on this next page. It was like being on a roller coaster. You're at the top of the dip and you get ready to, oh, I don't want to go down that dip. So I did, and I felt that I was crossing over. So I don't know, I don't have any words to give to him, brother, what to do to get back. But I do think we're not alone. They were surrounded by helpers and guides. And if they choose to let you come back, and if you go on to someplace else, it may be whatever that other place is going to be. You know, they talk about it in chapter 125, look at coming forth by day, at the cyclostasia, the judgment scene, and I'm concerned that I don't want to be gobbled up by the crocodile and to be just disintegrated, you know. I have not been perfect. I'm not like a seer. I ain't gonna lay claim to that no way, you know. And when I look at that list of things, I pass on most, but there's some I have to wonder about. So I don't know how the scale will weigh. I know that for certain, absolutely, so one day that cord will break, and one day there will be a crossing over. That day will come. I don't know if I'll be ready, but I know one. I would suspect that when that time comes, ain't nothing to talk about. Time to get on up and get on down the road, whatever that road might be.
Dr. King, can I follow up with another question?
Sure.
The outer body experience on a different level by the name of bilocation. Could you explain that for me?
No, bilocation. I hope I help you with that term, my brother.
No, not.
Oh, I mean, but you're aware of two different locations. Yeah.
Yes. I was reading of a case where a bishop went to preach at a church, and he was engaged. He has an appointment for another engagement to speak at another church several miles away, and he consumed quite a lot of the time, so he wasn't able to make it physically. So he fell asleep in his chair, and he appeared at the other spot, non-physical.
Yes.
And on the stand, he gave a brilliant presentation, and that was the end of the story. So I just wanted to find out.
There was when I was studying with the Aquarian Spiritual Center, which is an endless process, there was in these Gnostic studies, there was the fourth degree. And in the fourth degree, you were considered to be a traveling person. That you had the ability to materialize and dematerialize. And I said, well, I'm a believer in Dr. Lagana, the works you have here. I don't know, I don't have conscious control of that. So he gave me the papers and said, here, this is your certificate. And I was living in North Carolina in Durham, and I was visiting back and forth in LA. So I had to go back, that weekend I had to go back to Durham. When I got there, I went up to my study, and I put the paper on the desk. And I said, man, you know, you can be studying and you can believe, but not really believe. The paper disappeared. No one came up there and studied but myself. So maybe he took it back. And in the works of Aleister Crowley, who was a white metaphysician, the House of the Golden Dawn, one of the ones who came out of that theosophical group, but who was a way out sex maniac and drug fiend and all that, but also a brilliant metaphysician. He wrote 777, many other books. He talked about visiting in Cairo. This has been in the early 1920s. And he watched his master, named Theron, materialize in his hotel room. And he was materializing from the star Sirius. And he was a black man. And the upper portion was visible, but the torso, the arms, and face he could see, but the other parts he could not see. In terms of the experiences that I had, I gave you the example of the two Africans who came to my assistance. I've never seen them before. They were 20-year-old, lish-looking African adult men. They seemed to be of small stature, like twice size, like 3 or 2 feet tall. And they came and put the white cloth on my head on either side. And then when I came out of the trance state, I realized I could actually do that. It made a tremendous improvement for my condition. But then again, on the other sides, when I would go into places and I would hear the sounds, there would be sounds that I would hear that would precede the out-of-the-body traveling back in time to Kemet 10,000 years ago. And then another time I had an MRI done, and in the MRI you get into a long tube, and I'm a big guy, so ain't nobody can get me in the tube. And when it starts off, it sounds like somebody's playing wooden xylophones. And I'm beating beep, 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 beep. That was the same sound that I heard when I went into the trance state. So that suggests to me there may be some kind of electromagnetism involved in these ships, energetic bodies going in dimensions. But to be conscious, I've been able to sometimes be aware that I'm dreaming, and then come out of the fright stage, or like, where am I stage, and then actually dialogue and ask them to share knowledge with me. And I've been aware sometimes looking at manuscripts and then being amazed what I was reading and the brilliance of the revelations, and then wanting to hold on to it, but then not holding on to it, because I wake up in a disbelieving fashion and not try to write it down. So training your mind, lower mind, to write these things and become more proficient is a matter of repetition. But I think it's also a matter of having guides. But I think there are others who have, and a lot of things that are written about it, it's fakery, because 90% of it is people just hustling, making money on trying to sell techniques and motions and certain things. I do refer people to the works of Pascal Beverly Randolph, but I have questions even then when you speak about using the magic mirror to visualize people on the other side. And the magic mirror is having marijuana or other kinds of drugs and made up the mirror, but saying that they could have conversations and could read people's thoughts and all these things. So there's a lot more that has to be, maybe that's the work that I have to do, I don't know. When Dr. Lagarde, never told anyone this, when Dr. Lagarde, my older teacher, was in his last days, and by that time he had he had fallen and hit his head and had a basal skull fracture. That must be Dr. Ben. and he had become, his memory had become very poor. And also his wife, when he came home from the convalescent hospital, had a reoccurrence of her colon cancer. She died within a week. And then so he came back, and he was with us for like another 3 years. But he also gave a history. He also gave a history. And he talked about traveling to other realms. He said that he was having an out-of-body experience, and he talked about being able to, that was quite an event, and he had done a materialization inside of a fly, whatever. So I don't know about all of that, but so on that I still feel like a novice, unqualified to answer that. Yes, okay.
Do you see a relationship between neuromelanin and autism?
I see a relationship between neuromelanin and so many things. So, again, for the autism, where children are born in autism spectrum, and with their different levels of affliction. Some may come across as being mildly, moderately, or severely retarded, and have spastic movements. But this notion that neuromelanin acts to facilitate the myelin sheath and the transmission of impulses efficiently from section to section is a critical question. And the question of if there is I know there is a spirit body within a soul body that's inside, a spirit body inside of a soul body, inside of a higher mind body, that's inside of a lower mind body, that box within a box within a box. So if the physical body can't really express itself to the average person, and we would see that as autism, there may be something else that's quite intact on those other three: soul, body, spirit realm. Spirit, because you don't take on material manifestation if you are a spirit, unless the soul body, unless the spirit is there. The spirit is the ultimate one, ultimate entity that's bending space, as the brother who did the unified field theory, Brother Clemson Brown, talks about. That you take it, always, life always exists and always is. And when you occupy space, even as a human being, we're taking up space in the cosmos. And space is wrapped around us. And it has all these magnetic, gravitational components wrapped around us. And so that will be a tremendous advance, Dr. Brown, as you continue to do your work, showing the relationship between dark matter, dark energy, neuromelanin, and nerve transmission. We get to see that operating on an individual level, which is certain to come. So that's quite a run.
Professor Smalls, you have anything you have to add?
Yes, ma'am. I got some
So would you want to say a few words before you leave?
I'm just glad to see Dr. King
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
lose the weight.
Yeah, you've been telling me that, and I've been listening to you this time.
Okay, if you want to stay here, make the decision to stay.
I made the decision to stay.
That's the deal. You make the decision to stay, and then you stay. A brain like yours and a mind like yours that is developed as yours, we need it. Give them all the matter.
Well, I'm here to share it, but I'm here to stay with it.
Being with Asa a few months before he left, and him and Wade and myself have been working with the school system out in Kansas City for about 5 years. But that last March we were there, and he wasn't his usual self. So
How did he seem different?
it was like sometimes he was there with us and sometimes he wasn't. So I asked him what is going on, And what he said to me was that, James, he says, I'll talk to you when we get back to the hotel. But he didn't. When we got back, he says, I got to go to my room. But what he said in response to the question is that we're just spirits in transition. And that was what he said, we're spirits in transition. And then he says, and you got to do two things, tell people two things. That one, what people always do is build families. And that we must be very conscious that the primary war we're engaged in is a culture war. Okay. So those are the last three things before he left. But, you know, like you, I've had out-of-body experiences. So I know how that space, that's a special space. And I've known people who just left. My mother just left. She wasn't sick or nothing. She just decided it's time to go. My sisters and them thought she was joking. She said, I'm not coming back to your house today. She went back to the plantation where she was born. She went to the house where she was born. She sat in her mother's chair. She asked everybody to leave, set them all on an errand. 15 minutes later, they came. She was gone. She wasn't sick or anything. She just left. And my grandmother, before her mother, when she was leaving, she actually called me in the room and told me, she said, look, you got to take care of your mother, and you got to take care of Carol and the kids. Because, you know, at that time, I wasn't so sure Carol and I was going to hang in this long, because I had to do my politics. And she says, I'm leaving. So I says, well, where are you going? And at that time, she was about 98, but, you know, a healthy 98 for South Carolina. And she says, I've been to the Jordan River, looking Goldface, and I'm going to cross over. So I just said, oh, Mama, you ain't going nowhere. You're going to bury me. And I lied to her before what my funeral should be like and all this stuff. She said, no, sit down. She was blind, actually, for like many, many years, but this day she could see. And she described things on the pictures. She described the vest my sister was wearing. She told me she made that vest from the feed sacks, and she described. And so that woke me up. But the lady saying it's the truth. And she says, I'm going. She said it again. I've been to the Jordan River, and I guess those were her frame of references. She says, I look in God's face, and I'm going to cross over. She gave me certain instructions. And that was thanks to Listobel, because I wasn't going to be there. It was a Mother's Day. And I wasn't going to go home at Mother's Day. I was speaking in Columbia. And I spoke on the Saturday, and then Saturday night, Listobel came to my room and says, don't you have family down here? I said, yeah, my grandmother. And I said, my mom's down there visiting. I was supposed to lecture at the church on Sunday. So he got on the phone, calls the preacher and said, we're canceling small Sunday lecture. So I began to protest, I made an obligation, I'll keep it. He said, no. He says, you go see your mother. So I drove down to South Carolina the next morning, and that was what the old lady told me. And then I got back in the car, go back to Columbia, started flying back to New York that night. Perfectly clear sky. They used to have plates on the plane and forks and stuff back in the day. And we were having dinner, and I was the only black person on this plane, and it hit something. Boom! All of the dishes are flying everywhere. Everybody's panicking. And the father came on and says, well, we didn't get anything, and I can't, he couldn't find out what happened. They said the weather was fine. So they began to clean up. And it happened a second time, and the stewardess began to cry, and that's when I got scared. I remember my knees going really fast. And there was nobody for me to hold on to, because I'm the only black person, and all the whites were hugging. And so I held my legs and started praying to my grandmother. I said, don't let me be crippled up, either kill me or don't let the plane go, but I don't want to be crippled. That was my dialogue. Plane leveled off, got to New York, everybody walked on the plane, never said nothing. That was the period when I stopped flying. You remember when I didn't fly and I took the trains out to California. And then Dr. Jeffries came and said there was a need to go to Ghana. This is their thing, remember, that's when we had the dream. And we had to go meet with all the chiefs and tell them that our ancestor came in a dream and says, you got to build shrines for all those killed in the Middle Passage or we won't come back home. So I told the story to Dr. J. Dr. J called somebody in Africa. The next day he comes to me with tickets, and I go, look, I don't fly. So that night, the same grandma came in a dream and says, you don't have to be afraid anymore of flying. And I said, why? She says, your sister's going to fly your plane. My elder sister's an ancestor by that time. And while we were standing in this field talking, stealth, land this plane, and she comes out smiling with one of these old style helmets. Next morning I was on the plane to Ghana and been flying ever since. But the space, the frame of reference I make now is that we are all the divine having a human experience. Or better said, that we are an expression of aspects of the divine essence having the human experience. Because that's what you were talking about. That there is only one thing. And we are just parts of that one organism, which is all that is. You can't put a dimension to it because it's beyond our comprehension in terms of ending or beginning. And then much of our literature says the same thing. But my love for you, we go back a lot of years through a lot of things. Make the decision to stay. It's really up to you. And those little things that get in your way, it's like the discussion you were having about the negative confessions. We talk about the 4, but we know there's many, many, many more of them. And so just eliminate the ones that's in your way. The eating isn't, and the dieting isn't just a bad habit. It's a spirit that like those things. It's like they teach us in yoga. And you have to have a conversation with that element of yourself that you may like these things, but Richard's body can't handle these things. I remember one of those experiences I had was doing my Yoruba initiation into the precinct. And I was in the woods in a hut, and I think it was about the 5th day. And you're blindfold doing all that preaching, and you're fasting doing that period. And something came in the hut and picked me up and spun me around and said, dance. And I started dancing to the drums and dancing to the drums. And then it spun me again, and I could feel the wind when it goes, because I'm a child of Oyan. I'm a priest of Oyan. And so when it goes, I kept dancing and I hit my shin. And I thought I was in this place all by myself all these days, except occasionally someone would come and chant, and the drums were always playing. But when I hit my shin on something, a bench or something, somebody grabbed me. So there were attendants in the room. And he says, number one, do you want to sit down? I said, yes. And he sat me. Then he says, do you want some water? And I said, yes. And I remember when the glass hit right there, and then nothing. And the next thing I know, I don't have on a blindfold, and somebody was anointing this leg, and somebody this leg, and someone had this arm, and someone had this arm, and the chief priestess was possessed by Babaluaye. They call it Shakpan, who deals with they said the goddess of smallpox, but it really is the spirit that brings the poison out of your system, because that's what smallpox does. All those little pimples are the poisons, actually. So she was rubbing something into my forehead, the medicine, and someone else had a tray. And I remember what she said. She says, this is my son. I came to you weeks ago and said, prepare the medicine. You didn't do it. And says, now you know I need the medicine. And he says, I can take him when I want him, and I can bring him back when I want him. Just talking about what you were saying. I went to Kemet once from my living room floor. Didn't have any control. Almost had a heart attack. I would have died had they kept me longer, and they brought me back. And the second time they took me, I wasn't as frightened, and they held me differently that time. I'm saying I don't see none of this. Someone behind with me cradled. And I went to Kemet, and we got to Abu Simbel, and then we went over to Luxor, and we went to the valley, and then he pulled me away. All of it was African, and as he pulled me away, it was all turning white, European. And then they says, now you know what the work is. Then they brought me back to my living room. So I know what Asa meant. We are spirits in transition. And so I've had at least 2 clinical death experiences. I have a good understanding of this, better than I had, not as good as one should. You've been all the way on the other side. I mean, I hear you talking, but if you didn't cross over, you certainly had your foot in the water.
It was in the water.
Okay. And we are the divine having this experience. We are all aspects of the divine, having our peculiar responsibility. The Yorubas call it your destiny. Before you leave the divine to become human, you decide on what your purpose is here and what your destiny is going to be, and then you're held accountable to do that. And when you complete that, then you go back, not to some mythical kind of heaven thing, but you become a part of the great thing again, the great energy again. So I'm glad to see your spirit, and Sister Kepha told me you were coming. I was very happy, even though family is going through some crisis. There's somebody in the family yesterday who had to go through 9 hours of surgery with a lot of not too very good possibilities right now, so I need to go back home. But I love you. And as we struggle through trying to learn how to be African, the one thing we do learn is that we have to know how to love. Context. That I know people in the Judeo-Christian Islamic culture, we talk about loving, but I hope I'm going beyond that statement of loving. That is love without discrimination. I'm loving with discrimination. Okay, I'm clear on what I'm loving and what I'm loving. So that's my contribution, just being in your presence. You know, I remember how much you taught all of us when we had never heard the word melanin. There comes this guy talking about this melanin thing. What is that? You know, get to this guy's feet and begin to learn about what makes us godly. You know, and that's what you brought to us, and you're still bringing it. So you have to decide whether you're going to get tired on the job or whether you're going to lighten up and finish your job. You know,
I'm here for the duration, but let me just.
But I got to ask you a quick question.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll love you too. Stay with me. Take care.
brothers and sisters, forgive me.
Coming back. Is there such a thing as predestination? In other words,
Can you talk a little louder? So
yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm asking. I'm in my mind. I'm thinking. We speak of going to a certain point and then coming back. I'm wondering, do we have any real control? Was this predestination? Are we placed here and the Creator has decided you're here for a purpose? I expect you to fulfill that purpose. It could be for a day. You find children, infants who are born and pass almost immediately. Those who will live till 98 years of age. Is it predestined that, or is it our belief that there's a predestination as to the time that we spend here?
I would, first I'll say I don't know. So here he says my beliefs and guesses.
Yeah.
In terms of my recent experience, I knew things were going bad. I could have listened to my son who told me, Dad, you need to go to the hospital today. He was telling me that for days on end. I didn't know. I was getting worse day by day. If John Griffin hadn't told me I should go right to the emergency room, after a minute I considered, well, I can go tomorrow, but this is the man who writes my paycheck. If I don't go, now let me come back here. And so I knew he had me cornered. And for a minute I said, he has good judgment too. He's a PhD psychologist. And I could hear in my own voice how my speech was becoming slurred. I was aware that I was taking time. I was writing my prescriptions and I would almost fall asleep while I'm writing the script. And my patient was saying, are you okay, Doc? And I'm saying, yeah, I'm okay. And after this had happened 3 times with the same patient, I should have known something. But I do also want to hold on to the belief that we have we're given opportunities. And sometimes when I feel myself at a crossroads, and I've been told that there is a God who stands at that crossroad. Not the God, a God. Africans call him Lee Egbert. We call him the trickster. Is it going to be a treat or a trick? Are you going to treat yourself or are you going to trick yourself? And not all treats in that instant uplift you. Some of them are demanding. And some of the things that taste good, like being that food problem, that tastes good right then, is a trick. It's going to wreck you, tear you up bad. So I've seen that happen with the tricking and the treating. And I've seen things, like there was another time in my life where I almost died. Another time. And this is a quick review. I woke up one morning and I felt like I was in my 20s in med school. And I thought it was Christmas, like it was when I was 7 years old. Everything was beautiful. Everything had sparkle to it. It's as if whatever wish I wanted was going to be granted that day. It was as we all know, it was if there's such a thing for bipolars who are in their euphoric, grandiose phase, which we treat, brother and I, we treat that all the time. We know we can't touch it with medications and try to get a person to go along with that. The feeling tone wins every time. But a side thought came in. Pay attention. This is a special day. Something's going to happen today. And I want you to think about it. So later that day went on and on and on. In addition to being a medical student, I was in love with my girlfriend who had come up from Whittier College while I was a med student there at UC San Francisco. I was carrying on, and she loved me to no end. But I was cutting up on there, and we used to live together, and I had been in the Nation of Islam. And I wanted my freedom again because I was not even 25, and I wanted to sow some wild oats. I was hypnotized by the TV, what I saw on TV. I wanted with the TV image of exciting romance. So, all that said and done, she had moved out, and she was an attractive lady at UC Berkeley. And she had a new boyfriend. Which I didn't want to accept. I was going to lose her. And he was a professional prize fighter named Cougar. So I didn't want to tangle with him either. And so she came out and visited me one day at my separate residence. And I drove her back. And as we got out of the car, when I saw her to her apartment, we flicked the light on, and there was the new boyfriend standing at the end of the hallway. All 6'3" of them. And I suspected he was going to try to dominate her and to make her come back to him because she had asked for her key. And next thing I know, he had grabbed me and popped me upside the head. And we were wrestling in the hallway. And I didn't want to hit him, but I said, man, this guy knows how to fight. He can kill me with his fist. And I fell to the ground, and he started kicking me in the side of my face. I said, oh, no, you ain't going to put up with this. And I jumped up, and I went looking for the gun that her other boyfriend, who would come back from Vietnam, had brought. A 32 automatic. And I was going to get that gun. I was going to get crazy with it. And she, being a faithful sister, had taken the bullets out of the gun. And so we couldn't do that. But I began to carry the gun in my personal self. Here I'm a medical student, carrying a gun in my jacket. Because if I saw that rascal, I was going to fire his behind. And he was calling me on my phone and said, tell me I should stop going by. I said, I got something for you, sucker. Come on, bud. And crazy thinking, And so one day I was showing her, a few days after I was showing her how to move the car and park it in a parking space near where I live. As I leaned over, the gun fell out of my pocket. That was the same day I had that special feeling, mind you. It hit the ground. I smelled the gunpowder before I even heard the sound. A 32 automatic went off, and it went through the base of my thumb and came out the side of my wrist. This hole the size of a nickel blood flying everywhere. And I looked at that. I said, oh man, you're going to be paralyzed for life. You shattered your wrist bones. You're done with. You're going to be disabled. I went to the emergency room at my med school, and they looked at me like, here come another Negro coming here with a gun. Like, say that all right, and then they tested my hand as I was going to be examined. They began to breathe the wound. I'm looking at my tendons and whatever else inside this gaping hole and all. And I noticed I could still move my fingers, and that's impossible. It's impossible. The surgeon was so surprised, he took photographs of it. And then I said, remember what happened this morning? You've got something to do. Don't blow it. If you kept on your path, you would end up in prison, dead, or whatever else. So I think that, yeah, there is, as I've experienced in my own personal life, there is, on some levels, records of what the choices are and their different paths. And maybe in a parallel dimension, there is Richard King, who's paralyzed in his left hand from acting a fool. There's Richard King, who is doing 30 years of life for killing somebody, who through his medical school life or in a parallel universe. There's Richard King, because people, I told my friends, you know how gossip goes. And people started coming around. One of my friends, a fellow psychiatrist who was a psychiatric attorney, looked at me like, I realized she was looking at my head because she heard somebody had mispronounced the word hand, and they said he got shot in his head. And he was looking for the gaping indentation, you know. But I think there is. There are records that are written. And so we do have choices.
And we're going to continue, but I think we need to break to have something.
I just had a question on that.
Go ahead. Well, make it then, brother. That's the question then.
I just want to know if there are any medications or procedures that we have to be careful with, as from your perspective. Okay, thank you.
Emails won't email everything else is correct. In terms of
psychiatric medicines and procedures, are there any that you feel we have to be careful with?
Well, I think it comes with the diagnosis. I'm now different. I think that we have to revisit our diagnostic categories. And there are a lot of things that our people are sharing with terms of their experiences that we have been miseducated about as to what that means as a diagnostic label. And so what does it mean for a person to lose a loved one and to still have the loved ones come to them day and night? Is that an hallucination? Or is that a spiritual experience? And what does it mean for a patient to be able to confide that to us? Does it help build rapport? If they can talk about that without us being judgmental or putting it, and so that's a critical one. The other one about the link between post-traumatic stress syndrome and bipolar disorder. Man, I have really greatly expanded my appreciation for bipolar NOS. Oh man, and the bipolar mixed, and the other one, the PTSD, the
Borderline personality disorder trauma.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's greatly expanded that. The use of using small doses, things like Abilify, in concert with antidepressants is fabulous. I have misdiagnosed a lot of depressive states. He didn't come across as somebody being slowed down. So here comes Dr. Ben right now. There's so much. Please hold. I was heard get me up with your cord. Go ahead. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you don't treat my son, man. Yeah, he's now he gets so much better, man. He's now I've heard you talk to Dr. Ellis also, man. Yeah, man. So I would definitely call him and I would share that.
Yes.
Hey, how you doing? What are you doing down the way, Eating too much now.
All right, he got you.
The fun
I'm getting plates.
months, in about 10 months that I walk alone.
Beautiful, brother. Walking great.
Oh, no.
He told me how to do it.
I've been seeing you for the longest. It's chair right for you, dog, right there. Yeah, you check it out.
Our destiny. We want to take advantage of every moment that we have to talk about those things that are meaningful to us. So we say, our God, you are our God, and we give you praise and honor because you know us better than we know ourselves. You love us when we didn't even love ourselves enough to do the things that we should have done. We thank you for allowing us the breath of life that belongs to you. We thank you for your excellence and for your greatness. In this circle, we ask you to come and radiate yourself and to be with us, heal us of those things that need healing, and cause those things to rise up in us and around us and in our environment to give us the experiences that we need at these crucial moments in time in history. We are thankful for Dr. Ben. We are thankful for the school and the work that Cheryl has been doing. We thank you for Avini. We thank you for Dr. King. We thank you for Ann Brown, that we are able to look at her wonderful face and all the traumas and things that each one of us individually have been going through. Thank you for the household here and the preparation of the food that's going for the nourishment of our bodies. We belong to you. You say, you are mine, and indeed, we are yours. And that relationship is so special. And we ask that we have a deeper interpretation of the spiritual experiences that we are having, because we know that you are capable in us to decode the mysteries of life. We need you the evermore, because while we have the breath of life, we want somehow to pass on to the next generation the sacredness of who you are and the experiences, for we are indeed spiritual beings. Bless the food, and not only this food, but the entire body. Go down to the nanocells in us and regenerate new life. Amen 3 times. Amen. Amen. Amen.
In this community, very significant in terms of activism. Samori Marksman, you know him all. He passed away and got a heart attack. And stress, and those are the complications sometimes that we neglect. And as I was saying, that you can be a revolutionary, but the most important thing is that keep your health, because you got to survive tomorrow or longer. Now, there was Dr. Amos Wilson, the same story. And the other day, I had the privilege to go to St. Luke's Hospital. In fact, I was going to check myself out, but I just decided that, look, I heard that the Lombe broth is nearby here, so let me go see him. And I was kind of hesitant, it's like sometimes a person you're told that the person is comatose, and, but I just said, let me go. So he asked, I said, the Lombe broth here? He said, yes, it's upstairs, 6th floor, so I walked up upstairs. And I got there, yes, he was, it's like, but I spoke to him. I said, the Lombe, Molefe, a brother from South Africa, and you've done a great contribution to us. And he said, but he couldn't, So I said something. I said to him that, look, I'm here to really encourage you, and if at all possible, you are strong. And he made that sound again. And then I stepped off and stayed there for a while and left. Now that's just a coincidence here. The question that I'm asking. Yeah. The longer I got a stroke, I hear the wife got a stroke at the same time too. Now, in terms of coincidence, in terms of PPP, the numbers in terms of per billion and what. I mean, husband and wife get a stroke at the same time. You tell me that they had the same stress, same, or it's something that is more induced from outside that could be. That's my question to you.
Well, yeah, several things. In this day of high technology,
Just relax.
our adversary always, but always is choosing weapons of destruction first. How to kill the opposition. He and she has done so much stealing and wrongdoing. They know that somebody's coming for them tomorrow or today. So they're always very paranoid and very hyper-vigilant, trying to practice genocide. They are gods of destruction. So that's a reality. On the one hand, then on the other hand, I don't want to become paranoid about living, that I'm under surveillance. One of my friends, Bobby Hemet, talked about people being under psychic surveillance. People who use their ability of astral projection to listen in. One of my relatives, I won't say who, has been actively involved with the federal government for years and is aware of intelligence agencies that spy on us electronically, globally. And he often laughs because they receive more information in than they can analyze. They don't even know how to weigh what the information that's been coming. They flood it with their day-to-day intercepts. And yet, on the other hand, as you give that particular example, usually people are very closely bound to each other on a heart level. So to hear that her husband has had a stroke, that is a severe stressor. And it can be managed. One could also say that maybe there's a death angel that's coming knocking on your door. I'm just trying to go through a list of possibilities. And there may also be that certain people are trying to work bad karma, voodoo, hoodoo. I don't want to get into all, I don't want to get paranoid. I don't want to get paranoid, but you wonder if there's a rascal in the pot someplace, And so there's a need to be vigilant and to have your guardians around you at all times. But the thing that is certainly is practical, the simple thing of keeping your blood pressure record 3 or 4 times throughout every day, morning and certainly night, and keeping a record, a diary, is life-saving. Your body will answer within an hour or two if the foods that you ate that day was right for you or not. If your pressure goes up, you got your answer. If you receive a letter in the mail, are you worried about it? I'm saying, no, I'm not worried about that letter. But my pressure jumps 20 points, I am worried about it. Some part of my psychic apparatus is aware. I need to, if there's some external psychic viewing, so your body has alarm signals that are vigilantly keeping post of where we are. And it's so, I've had patients come to see me. I know Dr. Lewis has the same story and others of us who are in that medical thing. One guy came to see me when I was in San Francisco, and he was breathing very harshly. It was raining outside, and he wasn't going to go to the hospital to get his breath treatment. He had emphysema severe. And the next day, he never woke up. So respiratory rate is another thing to keep track of. I could have kept track of my respiratory rate. In my state of denial, I didn't want to, I could hear my voice slurring. I'm weird. So that's just food in my teeth. That's not food in your teeth food. That's something weighing on your brain. I remember having the awareness of a headache in an odd part of my head. And I said, oh man, you probably having a little minor bleed. There's no such thing as a minor bleed. Anything is life-threatening. Another one, you can get these glucose strips. And I have a patient I have to talk to twice a day. She's one of my patients. She has a part of her personality called, there's a glorious Carmela Dozart, and then there's a part of her that's called Fifi. Fifi's a rascal. It's the angel of destruction, trying to overturn her good work. So on the third day, she's going to get the wrong foods. And when I talk to her about the foods, she's going to try to fabricate and embellish or remain silent about what she actually ate. So it's good to keep a detailed diary because our conscious mind is being influenced by the lower mind and the higher mind. In the conscious mind, you might unintentionally forget 3 hours later what you ate. So it's good to keep a detailed diary. That wasn't anything when I had that potato with butter on it. I don't know why you mention that's not even a problem. Besides, I like that too much to ever give it up. So I'm not going to tell nobody about that. So the foods that we eat and the stresses that we had. I was under stress. My youngest son was having a hard time in school. He was smoking brand X, whatever that is. And he was cutting up. And I knew he was floundering. But I didn't want to admit that to myself. I knew that I should have gone to visit him with my own 2 eyes. As a parent, your own body, you can feel your children when things ain't right. You know. Anybody got to tell you? And so I didn't follow suit, but not that I could be there for everything. So I guess what I'm saying, there are simple, easy to do measures like blood pressure, respiration, glucose checks. But the important one, keeping a daily dream diary. Keeping a daily dream diary. Because it does look ahead 2 or 3 years, 2 or 3 days, 2 or 3 hours. And the dreams that wake you up in a fright, everybody's going to remember those. But the ones that seem to be nonsensical, with no pattern to them. If we see 2 or 3 of those, pay attention, ask yourself. And the memories come to you during the day. I was walking. I said, well, how far should I walk? Should I walk 2 laps, 3 laps, 4 laps, 6 laps? And I'm walking on the track, and one of those fast walking sisters passed me up. She says, how you doing, brother? I said, I'm doing fine. You see, I'm getting ready to end my walk. I'm walking 6 laps, but my goal is to walk 8. And I talked to somebody else, he said, her goal is 12. Well, I took that as a spiritual signature. That was telling me what my goal should be. So I am trying to do some of the same. But all that said and done is, we're at the age now where transition takes place if you're not careful. And when it happens, it's catastrophic. So to catch it in the bud, before that roller coaster goes over the top of that hill and goes to the next valley. And Doc is a living example. When I saw Doc last time, he wasn't able to even verbalize a lot of things. And Doc, you have a great work yet to do. Because you have, and with Dr. Lewis's care and the love of your family and community, goodness.
Well, what I found to be, what has been unique to me, I have not one of my children visit me. I am free of children. Neither my three children from my first wife, they don't say anything. My second wife, when I got divorced from her, they don't talk to each other, the children. So they don't talk to me. there's two, and the third one, team and the last, none of the two talk to me and don't talk to themselves. Kwame and Colette. Kwame live here in New York. Colette was living in Chicago, but her husband, they said that she killed him. She lives in Alabama. She doesn't be right there. And I go to visit her mother. Her mother has a child that she has, and she is supposed to know, tell me the child born in the room and point out to me the room. I don't remember any child there. So I know like a fool trying my best to put one plus one together. Then they move me from up in the Bronx, where they had located, and bring me down to Manhattan. Bring me back in the same place that I leased. I live in the same place that I leased, and I don't have to pay a dime. That place for $400 a month I used to pay. No, I don't pay a dime. I got the library still there, but I don't control a thing, don't nothing. All my jewelry from Egypt, don't know none, don't see them. Last night, a fellow came away. I supposed to have taken his mother to Egypt. Mother lives in Ghana now. She moved over there. But he showed her the picture, and she pointed out myself that I had been good to her, and so now he brings 5 dashiki, a brand new dashiki, which was given to me free of charge, and some radio. But now I don't have to do anything. And now I have everything done, but I don't know where the money come from. I feel like a lost person. They said, I don't know where I'm sleeping and how I'm sleeping. I wake up in the morning, I'm washed. I'm washed when they want to wash me and how they want to wash me. Tonight, Dr. Lewis came. I was happy that he's come. I was surprised that he's come. I have no idea why he has come, but I forgot that Richard is supposed to do on Friday. I then said, let's go, get ready to go. But the girl doesn't know nothing about it. She is suddenly. Then I didn't remember that he's coming. I have my teeth to go to the hospital. I got all my teeth made. Suddenly, just suddenly, I was supposed to get the teeth this weekend. Suddenly, the teeth have been put up for 2 weeks. And then they told me that I get it next week instead of 2. Something is wrong.
The young man that brought you the dashiki is Tamunye's son, Shaka.
I thought it was Anne's.
Yeah, Shaka. He's the one who brought the things to you.
Yeah. And Chester and his wife came. They're very helpful, but I said, I don't know nothing. I have no idea why. No, his mother, he gave me a picture, I don't remember her.
She could be at City College.
maybe, but I don't remember.
Okay.
I am lost to what is happening to me. And then, first, when Dr. Jeffries comes there, it used to be the young man that worked with Dr. Jeffries.
Reggie.
Yeah. He used to come to me, and no, I don't hear nothing. You see, things are happening so suddenly, and everything. I don't have my social security number. It's clean. I don't have the old age number. I found one the other day, and I put it away, give it to somebody to keep from me. Since I gave him my social security, I've had a number of people calling me, none of which I know. I have people who call me in the morning and night and leave messages to come here and then I don't know them. And then something comes that says, you know, a friend of his says, Richard King is coming to see you tomorrow. That was, I had a funeral yesterday, and before that, it was the day before the funeral, Tuesday. I said, Richard King, what happened to him? He said, your friend Richard King. I said, what happened to him? He said, Richard King was sick in the hospital. I said, sick? He said, yeah, man, don't you know Richard King was dying, had a stroke? I said, what, his wife is the stewardess on the airline? He said, yes. I said, Richard King. Richard King's son is here in college. He said, he's not in college. He said, he's come by to see you. I said, tell them to come. Then tonight when I'm getting ready to sit around, the guy said, Dr. Lewis is downstairs to see you. I said, why? He said, he's come to see you. So when I listened and I heard Dr. Lewis, it is to come to a reception with Richard King. I said, well, how is that? And I said, that's true. But then Dr. Lewis said, you going? I said, where you going to carry me with this stool? I need a stool to walk with, and you got to fill up the trunk with the car. He said, no, we're going to walk like that. I said, what? That was the whole thing. I going to walk. So I said, that's it. I said, I going to walk. I said, do you know that the three things to work with is, and the people can't guarantee me these three things. One, don't have a key. The other is the thing is, and this, the four apparatuses got something broken, something not working with it. And tonight I just got a lady who was assigned to me, no longer assigned to me. And one came back the first day. And all are from someplace else. I said, none, I know where they came from. I said, you know, when you're ready, bury me. But don't carry me, kill me up there in the street. And then they found all kind of excuse that I had urinated myself and I did. I said, I'm in no kind. He said, you're going to the train. I said, on the trip. Then Dr. King brought me here. And the trouble to come here was bad enough. Then I started to still feel relaxed because it was I said, we live going with Sister Kappa. He said, yes. I said, oh. So when he came in, I figured he gonna walk right in, but then I had to step up to come here. Then I could never step up by myself. When I came down in the place to come in, down here, it says, going down in there. So when I came down here and I looked in the room and I saw Richard King, I said, that's Richard King. I said, that's Sister Kappa. And that's done so and so and so. And I couldn't believe then I stood here watching her. Then I keep watching her. She looks, I said, she looks like somebody I know. And I looked and said, oh, I'm brown. Just like that. And she was surprised that I had hello because I had not seen Ambrom for the longest while. But since that I sat there and so much come back to me that I understand what you mean by a death. You could be dead and alive.
Oh, yes. Dead and alive, yes.
Okay. Next. And you had something to say.
I just want Dr. King to say a little bit more about melanin because that's our topic
Yes,
wherever
our topic
we
is
go.
melanin.
He brings good
I've been
stuff.
blessed, I think, recently to run into some deeper revelations. And as I was hearing someone talk at the table just now while being on a trip with Dr. Ben to Kemet, and there some years ago, and they're watching, and a white group was close by in the Great Museum of Cairo, and some white woman asked, "Why is that statue black?" And somebody went off with some way wrong answer. And upon hearing that, Dr. Ben turned around because he was black. So in that same note, that our people understood the science of blackness profoundly. So when I heard about the Anu, and I saw that inscription written, about one of that's in Abydos on a mural showing a Anu nobleman, and it was, and they said then later the Anu, their center, one of their cities, was this place that was called, for want of a better word, Heliopolis, also misnamed On. When I asked Brother Farouk's cousin, who took us to Luxor, I asked him, what about the Anu? He said, Anu? Oh, you mean the Yo Ono? And then he could relate to it under that name. But this place, the people of the pillar, who came, and then I read in your book, Doc, the Black Man the Now book, he had it all right there. But I hadn't been blessed to see with my mind, even though I've read the book 10 times, if not 20. And he has right in there that these were the people who came from the Great Lakes region. And they even pointed out places in Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya, and the Great Lakes region. They came from that place, and that was from the heart of Africa. And he says they were not Hamites. They were not black Caucasoids. They were not Nilotic Negroes. And Dr. Benson in his book don't even use that word Negro at all.
That's right.
And then I had also read in other places about what Sister Catherine had been given. I found on the floor at Dr. Lagan's bookstore an article that had been published here in Harlem by the Harlem Study Group in the 60s on the evil use of the name Negro. Mm-hmm. And it's even published not by Black Classic Press. Mm-hmm. And it talks about, it means slave. Mm-hmm. and it's of a recent 1600 vintage. But then as I read in Black Men of the Nile, it said the name that was given to the continent that we now name Africa, which was not known as Africa, that was in honor of Romans celebrating Scipio Africanus, defeating the Carthaginians General Hannibal at the Battle of Zama. But this was the name they gave for themselves was Al-Kabulan. Al-Kabulan. So that was the name of Dr. Simmons Corporation, Al-Kabulan. So I realized more and more the great works that have been done by our elders who've opened these doors. And so when I was studying with Dr. Lagan, when I began my study on melanin, I said, Doc, I want to study melanin. So from a black metaphysician standpoint, he says, well, come over here. He took me to a book called Goodwin's Kabbalistic Encyclopedia. And this was a book that was based upon the Zohar, which was the Moses had took, but it came out of the Egyptian University in terms of the divination and evocation. And the other, so when you open the book Sacred Tarot by C.C. Zane, you read about other elements in this thing that really come about the Sephardic Jews in Spain, and last put in writing. But he took me to the thing under the word door, D-O-R. Another name for door was Daleth, D-A-L-E-T-H. So then as I did further study, when I went to Abydos and I was walking through the door, going from the outer chamber of the temple to the inner door, there were no walls, there was no archway, but there was a black stone in the ground called the threshold of the door. And when I walked from the middle chamber to the inner chamber, there were no walls, no left pillar, no right pillar, no archway, but there was another black pillar made from rose granite, black granite with flecks of red. Now remember that granite, that's the same color granite that made up the king's chamber. All the walls, the ceiling and floor made of black granite with flecks of red. So I said, well, what is this red doing in black? And what is this concept of a threshold in a doorway? So then when I read your work about melanin, and when I read what Bruce and them had said, that melanin in the brain is a bioluminescent thing. It gives off radiant color. So from blackness, light is born. There's transmission. The same thing as the black retinal pigmentation in the retina, where it's taking light, be it light that's going to be translated into color or black and white vision. It's translating all these sensory inputs. And then I realized that all epidermal surfaces have a melanin layer underneath it, so that be it smells in the olfactory bulb, be it sounds in the inner ear, the melanin lining of the coccygeal membrane, epithelial membrane, be it melanin lining the internal lining of the cerebroventricular fluid chambers, where cerebrospinal fluid is made, that all of these are doorways for sensory translation that are then taking it in an energetic form, which is being processed by a higher part of our spiritual experience. And whether you want to call it a micro black dot, what's at the dot that was placed as the Ben stone, Mr. Benberg flu, I don't know. Is that the locus cerealis? I don't know. But there's something greater and much grander than this fleshly vehicle. And so the anatomical body is sacred, and that's important. But within that anatomical body, there's a chemical set of transmissions. And then within that, there's an electrical set of transmissions. And in that, who knows, I say again to you, Dr. Ann Brown, how is black matter and black energy working across the cosmos Is it passing through a melanin door? Are we going through wormholes in space? Going into other dimensions? All of it called Ra and the Supreme Being. I have more questions than I have answers. But work to be done. Let the angels just bless us with revelations as we go along. So I think they know. Be blessed with revelations as we proceed. So it's a lot of questions. I know that in my traditional experience of going through the medical education, that's valuable, and I want to be thankful of that. But I know for whatever reason, it's something if you're a billionaire and the spirit world won't bless you with a revelation to put A and B together to make C. And then here comes a janitor in your office, and he or she is blessed with put A and B and C, and they're children. So you're going to Harvard, and you're going to 125th Street, or Crenshaw Avenue, or whatever your place might be, or you're going to places back home in Aswan, places back home in Ghana, places back home in South Africa, or even places back home in Goma, in what is now the Congo, or places of my people. I wonder often why my people named Houma, Louisiana. Was it because that's the way they pronounced Goma? And they had some roots that went back there? I don't know. But my ancestors, my great grandfather on the male side was a blacksmith. And he was a traditional blacksmith. And he taught all 5 of his sons to be blacksmiths. And I know that my middle name is Devoid, which means in English without. So I said, maybe when he signed us up at the end of the Freedmen's Bureau at the Civil War, that was the cracker was still trying to signify that it was still a black man. But then I later learned, maybe that probably was true, who knows. But also the middle name relates to a French way. Devoid means, in French, capable of doing the work of. But I know the idea of the D of that door stood out. And I had a sister who passed away from breast cancer. Her name was Melanie. And then I thought about was it a finger in the pointing? Why would my sister be named Melanie? And she was a petroleum engineer. She dealt with the chemistry of black oil. And she was a Black Panther. So I used to be, but all these little signatures. But I think our elders have done a great work, Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, and others, and all the long line of people who've gone before us, and to pass this torch on to the next generation so they can keep it going is what it's all about.
Exactly.
And so it is quite a story. So I think that I really do feel there's something going on with other dimensions, but it is, you qualify by the quality of your heart, and you qualify a very complex thing. That complex thing is called sweat. By trying over and over and over and over and over again. And so there's the effort factor. And so I'm hoping, I plan to stay here longer. But I know I just will celebrate each and every day. And so I'm so glad to hear that our friends and family are taking care of our illustrious ones who's made a way for us. And I know they will attend to whatever needs to attend to, because it's been fabulous. Hey, and I could not, the answers are in those books. I didn't even see that. As long as I said, well, how did he put up with me all these years? Asking the same questions over and again, and he politely endured me. Endured so many of our students, so hey.
But I do remember coming from Egypt the last time. I was flown here and flown at the rate of a plane, brought here by a lady Delivered by what? Who? Where? When? What date? I don't know. I don't have a date. I can't tell you. Who?
I didn't bring them over. We just met them.
Well, I don't know because I don't know where I am. I don't know where I am. And tonight, when I was told by Dr. Woods I was coming here, and he was going to bring me by holding me, I was afraid. And when he brought me down the step to go to the taxi, I don't know how I make it. I said this. I didn't come because I felt confident of coming. I came because I respected him and was afraid to say no.
We're glad
Glad you came.
We're glad you're here. Our treat.
Now, either way, I would have been at your door, wherever way you were. I would have been coming to visit you tomorrow on my own, man. And I'm so glad that with Dr. Lewis coming, the Spirit's blessed you to be able to find the way.
And speak good.
And speaking good.
Yes,
Speaking
he's
good and
speaking good.
clear.
Yeah, yes,
Clear.
speaking good.
Wonderful. It's quite a blessing, Doc.
And eat well.
That's
Yeah, he enjoyed
great.
his food.
It's like old times. Just like old times. But Doc, you know, you have a guardian now. So he's probably paying all the bills. The court assigned you a guardian. So he must be taking care of the rent and everything else. So you don't have to worry about it.
And I don't pay rent, so somebody.
Well, yeah. So I'm sure that's part of his job. You know, he's paying your expenses.
I know who he is. He is an Englishman who's a black man.
I know. I hear that. I hear that. I hear that.
And he is the man that's responsible for O.J. Simpson.
Oh, what you say?
Well,
The man that got the bail for O.J. Simpson.
Oh, he's good.
Well, he's part of the son. He's part of Cochrane's son.
Oh, man,
Yeah, he's part of Cochrane.
Mr. White,
Out of Cochrane's son.
Mr. White, okay.
H-Y-T-E.
Okay.
He is the man that got O.J. Simpson back in jail.
He did?
Thinking about my case, I know. I read it on the street.
Uh-huh.
When I get on the street, I read many things besides the newspaper. And so I know a lot of things. There's a friend named Carnation. It's supposed to be my great uncle's grandson, something like that. And we meet on this basis, and he said jewelry in front of the Nana food store where I go. It's right on the other side of the building where I live. But suddenly, today, he disappeared. He's supposed to show up today, but he don't show. But nobody, and they called in the house. As I called, he is home. Well, Lou, I was waiting on you. Are you coming today? No, Doc, I decided not to come today. I said, why not today? And the reason he said, no, my dog doesn't feel good.
His dog?
I got a new dog. I said, your dog suddenly got ill. I tell you, one thing I just said, look, you can't live forever. It's impossible.
Yes, that's true.
And all I'm going to do, try to live till tomorrow morning. If I don't live, you bury me. There's nothing more I could do, but I would like to, but there's nothing you can do.
Right, exactly.
You see, when I started to do the trips, you can't make the trips pay you money by making a penny over. And if a person cannot pay the money, you can't say, well, pay me another when you get it. But pay your whole trip when you get it. And I couldn't tell you you couldn't see the trip and come on my trip and you could have a space. No, pay me when you get the money. But that you soon gonna lose all the money you have. You see? And there are too many people who are told, you don't have the money, you pay me when I get it. I never turned down nobody. The reason why I wasn't running the trip to make money. I was running every village you went to. The people knew me individually. I brought food for the people.
Yeah.
You carry food, soon you don't have any. You see, you can love a person. If you love somebody for the sake of love, you can lose that and have nothing at all. And I learned hard way. You don't have a bank account and nobody, you got to depend on people to help you. You wind up being worse than the buzzard.
Individual's name is Professor Allen, and we met him a number of years ago. Sister Hyde and others knew him before we did in Africa and Open Africa, and others. Professor Allen is in Uganda. He's been there about a year. He'll be coming back in August. When he comes back in August, he's going to spend 1 year here in the States. He's about 59 years of age. And he's at York College. So he's spending 1 year in Uganda. He's coming back. He left last June to Uganda. And he's coming back in August. He got to Uganda originally through the organization African Up in Africa, but specifically Brother Dix and his wife, who invited him over to Uganda for a conference. Because of his invitation by Brother Dix, he went to Uganda. Now, Professor Allen he's traveled through most of Africa. He's been in the war, etc. So he's an experienced individual, African-based individual. His specialty is history. But he indicated it was as a result of Dr. Ben primarily, and Dr. Clark and others, who really pushed him into the historical point of view. So he's been in Uganda since last June. He'll be back in August. When he comes back in August, he's going to stay 1 year to give York College back that, which one? NYU. Whichever one of the colleges, back 1 year of sabbatical that they gave him to go there. As a result of the trip with Brother Dix in that conference, a number of the brothers and part of the government invited him back to Uganda, that's where he is now, to teach at the university, some of the university students and some of their students that's going to go into foreign service. So when he comes back in August, he'll give us information and he's going back. The thing about it is, when he goes back, we're going to help him build an educational center. And his primary focus is on the Twa. He says what he's going to attempt to do is to add on that bit of information, that bit of history that Dr. Ben has started in terms of the Twa coming out of Central Africa. So right now, that's what he does. He does the educational aspect of it at the university for 2 days, and then the rest of the days he spends with the Twa. he gave us some information about them. He said they have their own indigenous languages. They live primarily up in the hills, and he says he's getting to work with them. He hasn't worked his way in yet for them to start teaching the language. So I just wanted to say we had an opportunity in meeting Professor Allen through Sister Esther Hyde and others, Dr. Hyde, that his specific quest, and that's what he's going to finish his PhD. He says he's going to stay in Uganda. We're going to help him build a city to try to build that informational base on the Twa to kind of add to what Doc and everybody has mentioned there. So I just wanted to say that it's paying off the things that we're doing.
How was he when you had the reception for him, the sending off?
Yeah, it was good. And the key thing is that when he comes back, we'll get a briefing from him. He'll be here, and we're going to try to provide him, African, Open African, others, with whatever he needs when he goes back to build a center in terms of computers and slides and other things like that. And what he had indicated to us was, right now the biggest problem is that the university students do not see Uganda or Africa as the center. They still see Europe and England as the center. So that's what he said, that impressed them in terms of the students, and that, he's going to do the best he can to add to help that. Hopefully, with the financial meltdown of Europe, the African countries and these students will begin to see a big change. It's very difficult to, I'll just end on this point here, however they said Shangarai in Zimbabwe and Mugabe are both in Tanzania. And Shangarai is supposed to be sitting with the Western countries asking for aid. And Mugabe is with the other African countries, putting together COMESA and inter-African trade. Because now they're saying, the African Union and others are saying that Africa, now have to restructure their economy away from Europe and the West and start trading much more within each other so that they can prosper. So these things some of these things are happening in a very positive way. So the juxtaposition is Mugabe is there talking Pan-Africanism and trying to integrate the economy. And Shangarai is there begging Europeans, and they're broke. Okay, so I was just mentioning that. So when Professor Allen comes back, we'll have the meetings and everything, and that's really, just like they're doing in Ghana and others, it's really a key that we were able to get an individual like Professor Allen to be on the ground and to deal specifically with the Twa. It's great.
Really good.
Hey, anyone else?
This is not a local issue, but today we were at Dr. Gates' thing about the Africans were collaborators in the enslavement. And one of the things that he said, was no transatlantic slavery. It's really European enslavement, and we should change the name. And he really gave a history of the slave trading, and to discount. He said they're always collaborators. The Jews collaborated with the Germans and stuff like that. But in talking about Professor Gates, my concern is that he's on the search committee for the chamber, for another director. And that's just my concern. I don't know what Dr. King thinks about that.
Same as you. That's a problem.
It is.
We got in the search committee. Ask yourself why the president of the museum is resigning.
Yeah. Well, he's retiring in February next year.
Yeah, February.
Your answer, Doc? How do you?
Gates is coming and the museum, and the president of the museum is resigning.
So Gates is going to take his place.
No, but he's on the committee.
There's a possibility.
Oh, the search committee.
He's on the committee.
Just as Viola Plummer said, it's all right to sit and listen to these things, but what do we do about it?
That's right.
You see? He may be on the search committee, but it would seem that there are things that the community becomes involved, and particularly in view of this situation, the statement that he's made, He is the last person who should have anything to do with the Schomburg. But that's just like with the burial ground, you know, right, my friend here?
With burial ground, a lot of us been run up and down with the burial ground. And now the committee and the burial ground have no blacks.
Have no blacks.
Have no blacks.
Well, I want to say this. May I just say this? That we as Africans have to be organized and ready. You know, don't get caught short when they present this European to be over the Schomburg, our history. Be ready. There was a struggle the last time for him, for Howard, and I'm sure there's going to be a struggle this time, but we should be prepared for it.
And there's no professional qualified black person at any of the Museum of Natural History, Metropolitan Museum of Art. There's not one.
Not one.
Not one.
I hear you. As a matter of
And
fact,
all of this is by design.
of course. And I don't know why we can't put you up. You're an art historian
Yes.
with a degree.
right. That would be something.
That would be something.
Yes.
I don't see why.
Yes.
I don't see why either. Okay.
Don't see why.
What does it take?
Organizing and being out there with masses of people.
That
That's
makes
right.
sense.
That's right. Replacing him with another African and with a woman on top of it.
But we should start writing
That's what I'm
the
saying.
Schomburg.
We better start.
What the process is, so that we know that we did
That's right.
things in the process.
More than
So
reacting
we
to
didn't
it.
do this, that, or the other. We have to find out what the process is.
Well, then maybe we need to set up a committee.
To get him off of the search committee.
Maybe we
to
need
get
to,
him.
maybe we need to set up a committee to find out all the things that is required for us to be prepared, you know, to take on this struggle.
So we continue.
Always, never end.
We can continue on.
That's right. Absolutely.
You asked for a motion?
Yeah, then we can, I do need
Are
one.
you driving?
Well, we can get one person from African Open Africans to represent the group. Not necessarily myself, but we can find
One
somebody.
person, and
So it'll be an organizational thing to say, this organization is backing this particular person.
Sister Hyde, you have an organization? Okay, can we count on you?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's already two. Any other organizations here? But I'm sure we can because Sister Betty and they had to leave. But I'm sure we can get somebody from Simultap.
Maybe somebody from the South 12.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I'm sure that.
And I'll mention it to a board meeting at National Conference of Artists this week.
Yeah, I was thinking that you would be
Oh,
in
I
a
don't-
position to.
Girl, I done miss you all tonight. I watch you every Saturday night, you know.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah, I watch you.
Reality themselves. And they're trying to, and there's this whole thing with the internet, I'm fearful of their taking control of written books, burning them books, editing the books, and limiting what enters on the internet
That's right.
on all kind of twists and turns.
Especially on Wikipedia.
And just trying to twist it all around. And our children who now look to the internet, it has like in my generation, we're looking to TV to educate them. Next generation after us is looking for the internet. But the correct thing would be again to teach us how to become fluent in our own tongues, speaking and written, and then go back to read and talk to living people. So this thing about talking to the Twa is of fundamental importance. Reading the Matthew Next, when I read Dr. Ben's books, he has photographs of all of these things. To get past the speculation, he's taking it back to the source. And there's a dialogue once you hear those words or see those visual imagery. They say nothing of the smells or the touches or the fabric or the colors that turn on, for want of a better word, no, let's say the other word, which is the the ku and the ka and the ba, or the collective unconscious. Those are all different names. So that you have a dialogue with your ancestral oceans, and all those things can flow to you in the here and now. And so that's, they have that kind of person to be efficient.
Mentioning the melanin and the dream state, someone was telling me recently, I don't know if it's true or not, but I need to ask you, that when it comes to healing, healing does not really occur in the state where you have visual dreams. But if you go beyond that, there's a state of peace in your sleep where the healing occurs and not in the dreams. Is that true?
There's this thing of the sleep having 4 different phases that you can identify by looking at the EEG, the electrical recordings of the brain. But that's European talk again, because that's not taking into account all the other small oscillations that take place on the scope. And you have to really get a clean room where you're not being bombarded by the waves, all the other communications that are ongoing. But so it's hard to know what the real deal is. But in the phase of sleep in which you have dreams is in, I think it's in phase. There's two stages between stage 2 and 3 where you have the rapid eye movement sleep, and that's when you can have conscious recall of your dream content. But like I said, when I was into that deep nod, when I was had 4 seconds and I was getting out about, it felt so sweet asleep. I would dare to venture it might have been a stage 3 or stage 4. Now the question of healing is a very complex question. It's because when I hear about the healing that takes place with the neurogenesis, the growing of new nerves, new blast cells that originate in the epidermis lining the cerebrospinal ventricular fluid, especially in the lateral ventricles, going through a 21-day journey, passing through the basal ganglia, and then if there's not too much rage or depression, being able to ascend and seeding the cortical cortex with new levels of organization. So looking upon an individual nerve cell as a vast galaxy of multiple neural connections, synaptic dendritic connections. One nerve cell may have a million different connections.
And that's the 4th stage.
That is I think a healing phase that runs through 21 days. And from my point of view, I'm not just uninformed, but I would care to venture that healing takes place 24/7. You know, you can talk about hearing something that promotes you to change or heal or cast off demons, but then to hear it, by the time you've heard it, you might have perceived it even before it was even said. And by the time you hear it, then it has to catch you at the quotes at the ripe time. A window in which there is many things are in alignment that can then bring about a new synthesis and bring about a transformation, so to speak. And so I don't know the answer to that, Sister Dr. Jeffries. I'm of the inclination that healing is a 24/7 phenomenon. And the parts that we're blessed even to see, that we can document, that's one thing, but the different aspects of it. And also, it seems like healing is not many times give it another example. I had a lady the other day, one of my patients, I called twice a day to check her on blood pressure and glucose levels. Her mother and her brother both died within 3 months of each other. And so she had lived with them all of her adult life, and she was totally dependent upon them. And she was totally disabled. And it was a very loving family. But I was fearful that without her mother and her brother was a primary supporter, that without that family there, she was going to fall apart. She wouldn't last but a short time. but she has done well. And she gets off her diet from time to time. But she had a dream. She said, I had a dream, Dr. King. This lady's 55 years old, so she's past menopause. He says, I had a dream that I was pregnant. And she patted her rotund stomach. She's overweight. He says, I knew that wasn't. But I've heard of the dream of the spiritual marriage and the giving birth to the new self or moving up to a higher plane. So to me, that was a sign that she was healing. And she was being reborn with a higher level of integration. And she lived in her family as a person who was bright, but she had been sexually molested by a woman that she refused to ever admit when she was 10 years old. And she was sexually assaulted later when she was 21. And so that was a tremendous traumatic event. And so she was been labeled schizoaffective schizophrenia, bipolar, and all of these various things. But she's going through it, and when she took classes in the university, she made straight A's. And then her mother said, no, you need to be here to see me, to watch over me, and take care of me 24/7. Her brother said, you need to do that. So then she fell back into the dependent mode. And now that both of them are no longer here, she wondered, what am I going to do with my life?
Go back to school.
Go back to school, and then what am I going to do then? So realize that if you've been blessed with good things, then you have to move on from being a recipient to a healer. You've got to give.
Right.
And climb your ladder. You've passed through and that word threshold is another word for initiation, another word for enzymatic, where you're able to go, you tunnel, and you need less energy to accomplish a lot of miraculous events. So to pass through a threshold that you then catapult and leap several steps in one to a higher level of living. And then one last word on this journey of life as we pass through the different doors. That's quite a story. These different doors, the marriage door, the family door. Realize we belong to a spiritual order. Here we're in the history club. And we're with our fellow soldiers and soldierettes in the history. And we're all given certain talents. And we're carrying the story of our people to spread the word so there can be a healing of the self-identity, a reorientation back to our purpose. What are we going to do with it? Where do we come? Where are we going? What are we going to do with all this? How are we going to do this and still not get the big head and get scandalous and crazy? Want the big house, the big car, the big money, all the ego trips, you know. How are we going to deal with that and still be able to sit in Pam when it was Pam? How are we going to sit with the crew and talk trash, you know, and talk sweet talk and hip talk, you know, and communicate, and then receive blessed ideas from ways that you wouldn't even expect. Sometimes I said, I was in a place the other day and a man came in. He looked homeless, and I was tightening up. I said, wait a minute, brother. That might be God walking through the door. What you talking about, brother? You can't go in your pocket and give $1. So I remember Doc so many times, I was so thoroughly impressed. He would bring his last dollar and give it away to all the people. I said, man, I couldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. But he was giving, and it had an effect decades later. You're looking for immediate return. And then sometimes when people come to me now and they don't have the fee to pay, I said, well, I've been paid in advance already. I'm gonna work, I got a special payment plan for you. I can work with you and do what we can. If I have been given the breath of life to see a new day, let me try to find some kind of way.
All right.
Yes, Dr.
You know, I just wanted, if you could comment, in Vanuatu, in the South Pacific, our people for the most part, are heavily melanated, and they live in the rural areas, the bush. They're on mountains, and you've got these stars. You see thousands of stars. And we were told when we had a brief experience that people, this is the comment I want you to comment on, that people, they know certain people can go from a human to animal form and back, primarily in birds. That certain people at certain times can fly. That there was a priest who told us that he knows where the dead lives, visits them, but he could not tell us, he wasn't allowed to tell us what they ate. And there was a priest that said to us that he went to Iraq and saw the devastation of what the U.S. did, and it was terrible, and he came back. Can you comment on any of these things?
When I went to with Dr. Ben we went to Luxor, that was in the year 1979, after that train ride, Doc. And we went to Luxor. We went into the tomb of Ramses VI. Now, my dear wife, Paulette, before I even gone, had bought a copy of the book, Ramses VI by Alexandre Piankhanov. And they had different scenes. One of the scenes was 6 figures, black stick figures, in wavy waters. And I said, what does that mean? I wish I could find out what that means. So that was an image in Kemet. And then I saw a book that had been written by the so-called Aboriginal people in Australia. And I saw the same scene, the black waving waters and stick figures in the water. And I heard one of the Aboriginal people talking about it, said it referred to people in a trance state, not a dream state, but whatever the word trance, that's the word, I don't know what that means, trance state. And that people could take on can incarnate or take on different forms. And they could materialize and dematerialize. And then the works of Edgar Cayce, who talked about while in a dream or trance state, he could project his mind to any place on the planet Earth and go in underwater, through ground, whatever, and then retrieve whatever he saw while moving in the spirit realm. So hearing all that, and in my recent experience, though I would not say I don't know what that was all about, that I would not deny it, and to hear that people call, again, this other person who wrote 777, I blocked on the name again, who was a English person who belonged to an occult group that was magicians and all, but he was also tore up from the floor up with his sexual identity and also heavy duty on drugs. Aleister Crowley was his name. Spoke about his master Theron, who lived on the star Sirius, materializing in his hotel room someplace while he was visiting in Egypt in the 1920s. So the concept that people could materialize and dematerialize even across huge voices of space and time. I'm of the opinion that's reality. That's reality as to how you do it, on what level you do it, and how to be organized, preparing yourself for steps of development. I'm fairly certain that's attainable. But then again, I'm also pragmatic and saying, well, I know once in my exploratory days, when I was a younger and bigger fool, hope I've reduced that so as I've lived. I was living in LA, in the hood, and I was doing chemical experimentation called LSD. So they had a thing called purple haze. And purple haze was a little small BB, like a little small purple BB. And so I went out in the community. They had it. Somebody brought up a shipment of Purple Haze to South Central Los Angeles. So I went out with my cousin Cardell and my other cousin, Brother Abdul from San Francisco. We went out there and we bought us a little supply of Purple Haze. I said, well, I'm gonna buy more. They cost $10 a pill, and I got 5 or 6 pills. And I said, well, I'm gonna give each one of us one. And after an hour had passed, nothing had happened. I said, this is a scoundrel, man. He sold me some junk and got my money. Ooh-wee. So I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take 1.5 more and give them a half each. And like a fool, I took it. And then I was driving the car, got off the freeway, came to the stop sign, and suddenly the light turned into a rosy red. It felt so warm, I could feel the heat coming through the window. I said, oh man, here we go. And so I drove on home, but then the chemical thing was unleashed. And I began to have the visions. I began to retrieve memories from distant past. And I began to have brilliant revelations. I mean, you know, sometimes we have fear about thinking certain combinations. We have to push past fear. But then I said, oh, well, you did all that. What makes you think that you won't fly if you jump out that window? You ought to try it. Yeah, you can fly, man. Don't you feel light? Then I'll come back to it. It was like yes, no. It was like digital, flipping between left brain, right brain, back and forth, back and forth. But I'm saying all that to say that that's an example of the chemical brain having keys to other kinds of linking up other kinds of association between neurons. So there's standard neuronal paths that are conditioned by our society, that's saying this is proper thinking. And so that part of the I think of the mental slavery is for us to accept the world as the oppressor sees it with his defective mentation. He doesn't want us to look at our other potentialities with our heavily melanated systems. We should dismiss that as crazy thinking or crazy thoughts. But our brothers who have been raised in isolation, where they've been able to go through a school of exact study and self-reflection, have then made new associations. So I think that's real, and it will come forward as we ask these questions, and we need to go back and talk at length to the people who are more skilled in that, and to the degree, because many times they will not reveal that because you're not initiating their group, but to whatever degree can we need to then share it amongst ourselves and look at our own different states and see what it is. So I think we're on a whole edge of rediscovery. And now we take away black as a sign of inferiority. We see, black is a sign of a divine gift that allows you to unleash the genie in your bottle. So you can fly into who knows how many dimensions. You can take on how many different materializations. And then asking the question for the betterment of our community, for the betterment of our pursuit of a right life and a noble life. And knowing that, and in all of that is the message: take care of your family, take care of your community, take care of your mate, take care. I hear Doc going through the struggles with his children is a painful thing, but I also have witnessed the sacrifices that our leaders make when they're gone all of the time, and the children develop an anger towards my big daddy who's done these great things, but he's not here for me for this moment. And so they have that resentment. I don't know if that was an issue with you. My mind have gradually told me about my stuff. So it's a question, my brother.
Yes. I don't know exactly if how to blame the past or for the future. Blame for the future.
He asked the question, do we have to blame the past for the future?
Blame the past or plan for the future?
Well, I think all of those are linked together. They're the same. That the past, as Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark have said, is a compass. It tells us from where we have come. And it defines the path of where we must go. We got some works to continue that have been an ongoing work in progress through the thousands, if not millions, if not billions, or trillions of years. There's a path of our life seed. And there have been things that have